All right, man. We made an episode. We're a
All
success.
right.
We win.
Sounds good. How long
Great.
was that?
I'm not sure. Because we started at a random time. I normally start at a certain like an hour. Like I'll start at 1 or 2. So I'm looking at that was my problem. I was looking at my clock and I couldn't tell. Here, give me a quick second and I'll check how long that in fact was.
45 minutes.
Okay, 45 minutes. That's not bad. I like to get up near an hour. But I knew you were kind of busy. You said you had some other things to do, and so do I, dude. I can't even. I didn't even end up talking about it today, but I had the craziest day yesterday. A tenant of mine, and this I'm not going to say this doesn't happen, kind of sometimes, but like yeah, the other day, tenant of mine like assaulted his girlfriend, and the cops had to come and take them to jail, and it's kind of crazy. And while they were at it, they broke my goddamn washer. They broke one of my doors in my house, so I got to go repair a door, fix a washer, and yeah, crazy day yesterday. What cigar are you smoking on there? Just a big Stogie?
It's just backwoods.
Oh yeah,
It's just a cheap old backwoods.
yeah. It looks like a cigarillo, kind of a smaller style one. Hey.
Yeah. So I just like to puff out up. When I drink, I try to stay away from them. And yeah, it's Lent, so I haven't really been drinking or smoking much, but it's Sunday, so that's kind of our day off.
Oh, and if you're doing a performance, you're doing a podcast or some shit, man, you're working. You're allowed to. That's what nicotine was made for, you know?
Yeah.
I
You like the pouches, huh? I never got into the dipping.
Yeah, I try to stay away. Like I try to stay away from smoking too much because I play hockey, so I do a lot of cardio sports. So any kind of smoking hurts me quite a bit on that. So yeah, I do, but I still got to get that nicotine, and I smoke marijuana on occasion. So it's like if I like to save my lungs for that. I feel like it's more of a return on an investment for the smoke with marijuana, you know. But to each their own. So.
Yeah, I don't smoke much marijuana. I'm glad you didn't ask me that. Put me on the spot with
yeah. No, no, you did a great job just keeping it where we were. I would have guessed you've been podcasting for years. I had no problems. Sorry if I blanked a few times. It's just I was trying to hit a couple of important topics.
No problem.
Because I can ramble for longer. It's just that I was trying to keep the ramble gear a little bit calibrated today.
Yeah. Sounds good. You gonna share that? Share that with me so I can share it.
Yes, for sure. I'll edit it up. I've already got one for this coming Wednesday. They come out every Wednesday, on everything. So like I do it actually properly. So I upload it to my website and it goes on to everything: Spotify, Apple, every podcatcher that exists. Spotify. I said Spotify already. YouTube. Everything. So everything basically. Google Podcasts before they fucking ended it. So
can I ask you a quick question? So what's your political take? Like, how do you feel about like Canada's policies?
Oh man, it's pretty rough. I tell you, I'm a Jordan Peterson guy, so I do believe that Canada's having some tough troubles. I mean, especially when you see our guy, like when you see Don Cherry getting in trouble, you know that something's wrong with the general energy of a country. Sure. So the energy is definitely off in the country, but it's okay because we're all making lots of money on real estate from all the immigration and the liberal policy. So there's that. In a sense,
would you consider yourself a liberal?
I don't consider I'm sorry to be a fucking like pussy here, not take a side, but I try to not consider myself either. I do believe in both. And so right now, though, I do find myself the things I care about more are a lot of the conservative things, but that's not to mean that I don't think a lot of the liberal things work very well.
So what's a liberal thing that you like?
Okay.
That you'd be for?
What's a liberal thing that I like? Basically, so a liberal thing I like would be the urge for change. So that right now everything isn't perfect. So the idea that so for an example, that would be that because honestly, you have to realize, man, efficiency, like let's say Doge, for example, with how right now, many people, it's being troped over on a conservative side. But the reality is changing the government is any change. That's a liberal principle. So using efficiency principles,
so it's science, liberal.
One sec. So using efficiency principles like Elon, he's a scientist. That science is a liberal principle. So that is, do you know? So I kind of forgot what I was saying there, but yeah, do you get what I'm saying? So in a sense, Doge, though it's currently being, led by conservative guys, the change aspect of it is a liberal principle. So, and the more you think about anything that's happening in a societal context, you can realize that you can extract liberal and conservative from both, from anything.
Okay.
So go ahead, please go ahead.
So I think that we're misdefining liberal from American to Canadian. So in America, liberal would be more of like a socialistic mindset movement. It's like a liberalism is more being socialist, where conservative would be more being so conservative, but in which way? In
yes,
I'm what's
hearing
the
you.
policy? Honestly,
I'm
you hear
hearing
what I'm
you.
saying?
Yes, but I'm hearing you, and I'm hearing words like being liberal means being socialist. So you're using words. These I would consider socialist a very large and loaded term. It's not something that can even be defined you'd write a book on what that word means. So when you say that, I don't like to define politics in that way. I like to parse it to be even more narrow. So like,
well, by socialism, it would be like a bigger government compared to like conservative would be a smaller government. So I wouldn't even consider myself like a conservative. I'm more of a libertarian in my governing for sure for the United States. Like I'm a Ron Paul conservative Republican, which I think has kind of been the movement of the party. So the old conservatives of the party were these pro-war Lindsey Graham sort of talking heads, which we're completely opposed to, or at least I am. And I feel like this young generation is.
For sure.
And I don't know how Trump eventually ended up falling into there, but he has all these people around him, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy, people that we really like. And I think it's a welcome change.
For sure. So let me just say what I want to say there from my stupid technical perspective. I'm not a political scientist, but I've talked with many of them. I'm an engineer, so I approach these things very technically. So I hear everything you're saying, and what it seems that you're coming back to is standard. Some people think of politics in terms of policy. Some people think of politics in terms of social aspects. And some people think of politics in terms of people, where they tie their ideas back to a person. But again, remember that whenever you do any of those things, you are in a sense pigeonholing the way that you're thinking about these definitions. They can always be considered more on liberal, conservative. All these words are not meant to be static definitions. They are dynamic in nature. And these people that you currently identify in with whatever the status quo is, they are just instantaneous pieces of snapshots of what that liberal or conservative can mean, and then it changes. So that's what I have to say about that. So like, I hear what you're saying and trying to help with understanding where liberal or Democrat or Republican or conservative is now, but I'm more on that side of it needs to constantly be changing, and that change itself is what makes democracy, politics do what it needs to do. That's what stops revolutions. Politics, I see it as something that's there to keep people appeased and at peace. That's the whole point of all of it. There's no other point other than to keep people being like, hey, society is a good thing, and we will change whatever they believe the system is made up of to make sure that people don't revolt. Because death, that's the opposite of what we're trying to go for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I mean, how do you fight that when like countries are so divided, when they have so the ideal on one side and the ideal on the other side is so opposing?
Yes.
Where's the middle for one? And then number two is, how do you appease people on either side?
Exactly. Polarization is what you're talking about. And
absolutely.
And I think that, as you're saying, exactly, it's a big problem. It's a big problem in democracy in general. And this is where we can get into global politics as well. I'm gonna too, whether you like it or not. Okay, so
I'll do it.
I do feel polarization is a big problem in democracy right now, especially in Western democracy. We're seeing each side move farther and farther away from each other. And that will be a problem. And in a sense, there will eventually maybe have to be something that happens. Things do need to eventually happen where everybody's like, and that's death, that's war, that's that kind of stuff. But man,
which we can both agree on, that's something we don't want.
No, not at all, right? But what's weird is with the way that the West is, and this is where freedom is a strange thing, where you have to understand that freedom isn't necessarily the best equation in all. So like, cause you look at Russia, cause dude, I really got into the Russia stuff a lot for quite a while. I started talking about it first when I started this podcast. And, you know, really, man, do people hate Russia, right? And then you ask
Mhm.
yourself, why? And, you go, oh, Indiana Jones, or you start using more of these blanket terms like communism, where people, Marxism, when people hear it and they go, yeah, that's the East. They're bad. They have no freedom. They're starving, you know? And, but people don't realize how much Western propaganda there is, and and I'm not one of these globalist, I'm not terrified of globalism like a lot of these people in the West who are like, oh, the whole thing is ran by people who are just abusing us. The only reason women have rights in the West is because so we can tax them more and all that kind of shit. I'm not deep into that, but I do see that there can be some flaws in a non. I think autocracy has its benefits. Don't you think? Like, or do you think Russia's horrible too? No, you don't, because you're from Croatia.
No, I don't think Russia's horrible. Actually, I actually think we have a misconceived notion of what Russia is now.
Yeah.
Russia is less socialist, and they're a federal. They're federalism. They're less authoritarian than I think like the UK is, or even what Canada is becoming. Yeah. And in the UK, what they had 400 arrests for political dissidents.
Yes.
And sorry. In Russia, they had 400. In the UK, they had 3,300 people arrested for their opinion online.
Exactly.
Whether it's the immigrants and whatnot.
Yeah, let me just add this one little part. Because like that's what's so tough about macro politics is you have these leaders that in the West, it's almost 50-50 with getting people to like them. But you go and you take a poll in Russia, and anybody who's critical of Russia, they would just tell me, so what I'm about to tell you, they would tell me that's fake, that's propaganda. Yeah. But if you take a poll in Russia and like look at an approval rating of all these people and be like, how many of you guys like Putin? More of them like Putin than people in the United States like Trump. So when you try to push that percentage to have more and more of your population like your leader because they stay in power for longer so that you can keep a cheaper political system, an autocratic political system where you don't have to sink all this money into voting and the democratic process, it does make their political system a lot more efficient than ours. So that's what they're going for. But so many people don't understand that because we live in the prosperous West, whereas they're trying to work with a much older and more ancient society in a less prosperous landmass. So,
Yeah, I mean, in Russia, they'll tell you that 80% of the population supports Putin, and how accurate is that? I mean, I'm not saying that it's misinformation, but they do have a.
Please go subscribe to our YouTube page, Canadian Talk with Stephan podcast. We need you down there. Also, we have a website, Stephanjackson.ca, where you'll find the audio versions. As well, you can email us if you got a question or anything you want to see us talk about. CanadianTalkWithStephan@gmail.com.
Propaganda machine that runs the country exclusively, but the people do believe that he's the best guy, and they'll get behind that.
Yeah.
And over here is my problem with the whole thing is when is it going to become authoritarian? When is the government going to take away your rights as a people? And I can kind of feel that in Canada, you guys kind of are losing your right.
Yeah.
And the UK. And in the United States, I mean, I felt like we were close to it. And let's have a fair system. Let's have a fair election, but let us be free. Don't tell us, give us our rights. I mean, we have First and Second Amendment.
For sure.
Those are very important.
Yeah. And so what you're alluding to most definitely probably is like the trucker protest and them seizing bank accounts and all that kind of stuff. And that is horrible. The good thing about it, though, is that and forgive my optimism, because I'm going to try to stick to that. But I do see these types of things that you're mentioning as temporary, and they're not freezing our bank accounts all the time. It was a Liberal government that was terrified that Ottawa had semis in it, so they did something rash, and it's not like it's happening all the time. So I do still believe that we have our rights, and but the thing is, I'm happy to become the U.S. How about we do that?
Well, would you? I was going to ask you that. I was trying to get there. You would be happy to be a U.S. citizen and part of the United States?
Oh yeah. I think that Canada should become the U.S. This is an exclusive on Canadian Talk podcast. Okay, I've alluded to.
So my question to you is, what would you get being a U.S. citizen that you don't have being a Canadian citizen?
Well, lower taxes are immediately day one. So aside from if they were to purchase the country, if they were to annex it and we were to not get some sort of a payout each citizen, right away, every single dollar that we have, I'm not sure if they would downgrade it, like convert it in the opposite direction, but our dollar would immediately go up by 40%. Because right now it's insane, but the Canadian dollar is damn near zero point 0.6 to the
Is it
American
that
dollar.
much?
So
I did not see.
yeah, so that needs to be corrected, and it's going to either take another 20 years of regular stuff, or we could just become the U.S. You know, and so what else would we get? I mean, goddamn. I mean, people would
What
stop
about
calling
Second
us
Amendment?
Second Amendment, so we'd get better gun rights, and people would stop calling us pussies because we'd get to tap into a little bit more of a military spread. And definitely, if we became the U.S., Greenland would be ours like that, and it's pretty much it should become the U.S. pretty soon anyway. Wait, did I say Greenland? Yeah, Greenland. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous that Denmark owns Greenland, and anybody who criticizes Trump for being like they're not properly utilizing that landmass, we're going to go over there now and better use it. How can you criticize that? That's such a good idea. Such a good idea. So you
So
know,
I don't know much of the demographic there with Denmark owning it, but if it's available and the people want it, I mean, I don't see why not. And I think that actually is going to happen. The whole Canada becoming a state, I don't think that is going to happen. Maybe not in our lifetime, but it's nice to hear from you, from a Canadian, that you
yeah,
would not be opposed to it.
yeah, it probably won't happen. All the leaders are saying never and all that kind of shit. And but it's good to put the thought into Canadians that it could happen if we keep fucking acting up. You know, because yeah, it's time for some conservative government in Canada for sure. And
So you probably need to go. But one thing is, so where I went to school here, I went to a private Catholic school, and that's where my kids go as well. But when I was there was a lot of boarding students. Actually, the majority of them were from Canada, and most of those kids came from Alberta, from Calgary. And yeah, they were they were a different sort of Canadian. They had the Canadian nice, but they were also kind of like the Canadian cowboys,
hell yeah,
which I kind of feel like you are
yes
in a
sir.
way. You're similar to them.
Yes, absolutely. And we still exist. We always will exist. So you're not going to take that out of Canada ever. And so it's going to be a good future ahead of us. And yeah, dude, don't worry about my time. Thank you. You don't have to say anything about it. What we've done here is we've done probably another episode, a little like 20 minutes. We've done probably 15, 20
Yeah.
minutes. What I'll use is for my Patreon. And I normally ask a person to do it. Hey, you want to do another 20 or 30? But I didn't want to take your time because good Lord, you got half a dozen children. Uh, but no, don't worry.
I have a good wife. I have a good wife. I have a good support system.
Oh, good for you, man. That's so fucking awesome to hear. I just love hearing that kind of stuff. Like where
Yeah. So you never asked me about that. So I've been with my wife since we were 17 years old, and then
yeah.
we got married at 20. So we got married, and she was a virgin when we got married.
Wow, man, the American dream. I wish I could still be with my first girlfriend. Sarah, if you're out
Yeah.
there, please come back. No.
No, don't ask her to come back. Why don't you find yourself a good, decent, God-loving woman that wants to, have kids and start a family? And I think that's true happiness. And then, you just make it work.
Yeah, I'm working on it. The problem is that a lot of the ladies up here are quite there is quite the delusion going on in Canada right now, especially with women. But I love all the women and women's empowerment and all that kind of stuff. But it does make keeping long-term relationships harder. That is definitely something that I think is a truth about, because I love an empowered woman. It's just that if you want to keep a strong family unit, they will eventually somehow, and I'm sure you know this, I'm preaching stuff that you know already, but they will have to, the reason these roles exist is because somebody needs to feed these children and somebody needs to make the money to keep a roof over these children. And it's like, God damn it. Hey, you do that. I'll do this. And it's happened that way for a reason, because a goddamn girl can't lift a fucking 4x4. And men, maybe they just don't care as much about cooking the food well or keeping the kitchen super clean. So it's just better if she does that. And that stuff has happened, and there's a reason for it. And if you have a liberal lady who is a bit too stuck to like, I got to go to work, and then just nothing ends up getting done and fights end up starting. And that just happens in a lot of, I think I can generalize a lot of relationships right now in Canada. That's what you're seeing, woman to man.
Well, someone needs to love and nourish the kids, and it's not in the male's nature to do that. It is in their nature to provide. Absolutely. And go out there and fight for them and get them what they need. But the mother is there to hug them, console them,
Yeah.
feed them.
Or oh yeah, right down to our biology. Actually, I had a thing come to mind that I heard the other day. Like right down to our biology. Like so, for example, if there's a man and a woman sleeping in a bed together, um, a woman is more likely to wake up if there's something moving around in the house, because it's like that's the nest. That's her responsibility. And a man is more likely to wake up. So like a baby crying, a woman will wake up right away. Whereas a man will wake up if he hears, sticks rustling or something outside of the window. And I know that sounds very anecdotal, but I heard some scientists say it, so it's probably true. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's just the nature, like you say, of the biology. There was another, it was a study, but I think it might have been Jordan Peterson that said how important it is for a father and a son to wrestle each other. And,
Yeah.
the father's kind of dominating the son, but in front of the mother, and then she'll be like, oh, don't hurt him.
Yeah.
But then the son also wants to, there's something in all three of them that's, it gives off like an endorphin of the mother's protecting, the father's aggressing, and the child is learning to survive.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that's the psychology of things. Even with that, there's just hard facts that will always sit right with the way they feel in the psychology, And you know what? I'll give you something here that I feel is a real nail in that coffin of that debate, where I feel like I can be like a test subject in a sense, because I was raised by two women who were lesbians. So
Really?
I did not have a whole lot of male what connection growing up, right?
Yeah.
And I can tell you that as much as I'm happy this is where I was critical of religion for a lot of my early life, and it balances out. But I'm all for happy gay relationships, but there is no doubting, me being a person who's had to grow up with parents in that, as much as they were good parents, there is something missing. And I don't think that is a good thing. And I think that's why religion, when it's trying to tell you, oh, these are all the optimal things to do, it's not saying that, hey, don't go and be gay and have a kid. Sure, you're still going to have a kid, and you can have love and live out your life. But at the end of the day, you are not doing it technically right. And I think that you can't argue that. I really do. Because they didn't have everything that kids needed. My sister would, I think, agree with this as well. She has various things about her that could be debated, So, yeah, that's my take on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I also grew up without a father figure, and you feel like there was something missing there. Like there was, and I kind of got it from certain people around us that were good, like parental, fraternal figures that I had growing up, but it wasn't your direct father.
Exactly.
I think there needs to be something there that's like, dad's here, mom's here.
Yeah, and you need to see the way he acts. Like I'm sure, and honestly, this might be where I like my deep love for improv comes from, but because I feel like I have to make up so much things as I go along anyway. We all imitate our parents so much, and that most people don't even realize how much they're imitating their parents. And with a lot of things to do with being a man, it's crazy how much I feel like I have to just make it up, because I've never seen my dad doing. You at least maybe you're aware of your dad. He's around, like he exists, but you didn't get to see him do all the things. So that's a part still that would be missing. But
no, my dad was never around from the day that I was born. I never knew him. He came back about 3 months. So my dad, after my mom got all of us kids together, it's a complicated story. He lived as a homeless guy in Hollywood Beach, Florida for about almost 20 years. And out of nowhere, he came back like 3 months before he died. He showed up here and he's like, hey guys, how's it going? I'm going to live in this town. And he lived like right next door to me.
Wow.
And then he got COVID and died.
Holy crap. That's crazy.
It was a not so crazy story.
Wow. So, oh my God, I've got I've got a few questions now to ask you, if that's all right. But yeah,
go ahead.
Because to do with the, that's, but you still know what he looks like and that kind of thing. But yeah, that would still be hard. Man, I thought that COVID was, it's apparently, you lost your dad to it. I'm sure maybe he had some comorbidities. He was living as a homeless person, so probably not.
Yeah, he was overweight.
Yeah.
He was overweight.
Yeah. So But yeah, still, God, COVID was such a nasty. It definitely helped lead into more polarization that we have now. It was like the first time, honestly, I feel like it was the first time where there was fucking gang symbols like masks that people were just wearing. You would not normally be allowed to wear masks into like stores and shit, but people were just, if you're a liberal, wear your mask, you know? And I don't think that should be allowed. It was like a couple of gangs, you know?
Yeah. And then the liberals made sure, why aren't you wearing a mask? Why aren't you? Yeah, I wore a mask less than an hour the entire time.
Really? Oh, so you're a purist, dude. I'm in Canada.
I went out of my way.
I was gonna say I'm in Canada, so I like was forced to get the shots or I couldn't work at the time. I was still working as an engineer, and I was like, I was forced to get these fucking shots. And then like
I gotta send you my stand up. So my stand up is pretty pure in what I believe. I should have sent it to you before. You would have had better questions for me.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry if my questions weren't good enough. Yeah, I haven't seen enough of your stand up because you're not necessarily all over the place. You know, yeah, as I could see from your podcast, you're protecting your ideas right now, which is totally fair to do, brother.
No, but I can send it to you privately.
That would be great. Yeah, I can give you my email, or we can send it through Facebook or whatever. But yeah, I lost your video. I assume it's because you're looking through your phone, but I lost your video on my end.
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. But I was just going to say, while you do that, I'll mention that. This episode will become next week's episode with Travis Ridgen is coming out on next Wednesday, and then you'll be the Wednesday after that. And I may have got the number wrong. I don't even know if it's one. I think it's. Oh yeah, we're 116. So I'm pretty sure I was saying the number wrong this whole episode. And then, yeah. So next Wednesday will be this one. And then now, guys, anybody out there, you're welcome for a Patreon episode too. It came out of nowhere. This is truly off the cuff. I'm gonna probably cut all this out.
All right. Well, use what you can.
Yeah. You're just looking to send me that comedy right now. Is that what you're up to?
Yeah, I can do that after here. Let's see if I can get back on here.
Okay, cool.
Do you see me? Maybe not. Maybe I'm done.
Not yet. Oh. Not yet. I believe you're back. You're back. Yep.
All right. I think we can end it on that. Hey, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. We had a good conversation.
Yeah.
Seemed like a good guy, but yeah. Hey, if you ever want to come by here through same areas, there's some young girls here from big families, and I could hook you up, maybe, possibly. But
sounds good. Yeah, I'll open for you with a little live podcast. I'll sit at a table and tell your story.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Yeah, dude. Thanks a lot for coming on the show. This is the Patreon episode, guys. Should be 117. And again, if you want to go find him, you can go look him up on Facebook under his name, Roger Rebegila. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. See you later. Canadian Talk out.
Good night.